For as long as most of us can remember, we've been told the same story. Study hard. Get good grades. Go to college. Get a degree. Find a stable job. Work hard. Save money. Retire comfortably. It's one of the most widely accepted formulas in modern society. Parents repeat it. Teachers repeat it. Politicians repeat it. Entire educational systems are built around it. And for many people, questioning that formula feels almost impossible. Because it sounds reasonable. In fact, it sounds responsible. After all, education is valuable. Knowledge matters. Skills matter. Learning matters. Nobody is arguing otherwise. But there's a problem. A very uncomfortable problem. If this formula truly worked the way we're told it works, why are so many intelligent people struggling financially? Why are millions of educated professionals living paycheck to paycheck? Why do so many graduates feel like they're running faster every year, while somehow falling further behind? Why are people with master's degrees worried about bills? Why are highly trained professionals carrying debt for decades? Why do so many smart people feel trapped? These aren't lazy people. These aren't irresponsible people. These aren't people who failed to follow instructions. In many cases, they followed the instructions perfectly. That's what makes this conversation so important. Because when a person ignores good advice and struggles financially, the explanation is simple. But when someone follows the advice exactly and still struggles, something deeper is happening. The truth is that education and wealth are not the same thing.
And confusing the two may be one of the most expensive mistakes a person can make. Think about school for a moment. From the day children enter a classroom, they're taught how to solve problems, how to memorize information, how to complete assignments, how to pass exams, how to meet expectations, how to follow directions. These are useful skills. In many ways, they're essential. But notice what's missing. Very little time is spent teaching people how money actually works. Students learn mathematics, but rarely learn investing. They learn history, but rarely learn asset ownership. They learn science, but rarely learn cash flow. They learn literature, but rarely learn leverage. For years, people are trained to become excellent employees, yet almost nobody teaches them how to become owners. And that distinction changes everything. Because employees exchange time for money. Owners build systems that generate money. Employees focus on earning income. Owners focus on acquiring assets. Employees ask, how much can I earn? Owners ask, what can I own? At first, those questions seem similar, but over time, they produce completely different results. Imagine two people graduating from school at the same time. Both are intelligent, both are hardworking, both are disciplined. One spends the next 30 years focusing entirely on increasing salary. The other spends those same years acquiring assets, businesses, investments, ownership, real estate. The first person may earn a great living, but the second person gradually builds something far more powerful. Assets that continue producing value long after the work is done. That's one of the biggest differences between education and wealth. Education helps you earn. Ownership helps you grow. And most people spend their entire lives maximizing one while barely understanding the other. The result? A society filled with highly educated people who know how to work, but never learned how to make money work. And that's where the trap begins. Not because education is bad, not because degrees are worthless, not because learning isn't important, but because education alone was never designed to create wealth.
It was designed to create competence. Those are not the same thing. A person can be extremely competent and still struggle financially. A person can be highly intelligent and still misunderstand wealth. A person can have credentials, awards, and achievements while owning very little. And that's why so many smart people wake up one day and ask themselves a painful question. I did everything right, so why doesn't it feel like I'm getting ahead? Because nobody explained the difference between income and wealth. Nobody explained the difference between working and owning. Nobody explained the difference between being valuable and capturing the value you create. And until those differences become clear, even very smart people can spend decades climbing the wrong ladder.
If education alone created wealth, teachers would be among the richest people in society. Think about that for a moment. Teachers provide enormous value. They shape future generations. They educate doctors, engineers, scientists, entrepreneurs. Yet many teachers struggle financially. Why? Because wealth is not created by knowledge alone. It's created by how knowledge is applied, and more importantly, how value is captured. This is one of the first wealth principles most people never learn. Creating value and capturing value are not the same thing. A person can create tremendous value, but if they don't own part of the system, someone else captures most of the rewards. That's why ownership matters so much. Ownership changes everything. Imagine you work for a company. You help the company grow. You increase profits. You improve operations. You contribute value every day. But at the end of the year, who benefits the most? The owners, the shareholders, the people who hold equity. This isn't unfair. It's simply how ownership works. Owners participate in growth. Employees participate in income. And that's a distinction school rarely teaches. Most people are taught how to become productive. Very few are taught how to become owners. But ownership is one of the greatest wealth-building forces ever created. Because ownership separates income from time. When you work for money, income usually stops when work stops. When you own assets, growth can continue whether you're actively working or not. That's why wealthy people spend so much time acquiring assets. Not because they're obsessed with money, but because assets produce leverage, and leverage changes the game. Leverage is another concept schools rarely discuss. Leverage means using something to multiply results. A lever allows a small force to move a large object. Financial leverage works similarly. A business can serve thousands of customers. An investment can grow while you sleep. A book can be sold millions of times. Software can be used by millions of people. The effort happens once. The rewards can continue. That's leverage, and the wealthy understand it deeply. Most people trade hours for dollars. Leverage allows results to exceed hours. That's why ownership matters. That's why investing matters.
That's why building systems matters. Not because they guarantee success, but because they create scalability. Scalability is where extraordinary wealth often comes from. There's another lesson school rarely teaches: assets versus liabilities. Many people think wealth is about income, but wealth is often determined by what you own. Assets put money into your life. Liabilities take money out. Simple. Yet most people spend years increasing liabilities. Bigger car payments, larger mortgages, more subscriptions, more obligations, more monthly expenses. And every new expense quietly reduces future freedom. Meanwhile, assets do the opposite. Assets create options. Assets create flexibility. Assets create resilience. Assets create freedom. That's why wealthy people often ask a different question. Instead of asking, "What can I buy?" they ask, "What can I own that produces value?" That mindset shift sounds small, but it changes behavior completely. Because consumers spend money. Owners deploy money. Consumers focus on purchases. Owners focus on acquisition. Consumers seek enjoyment. Owners seek productivity. The wealthiest people often do both, but they understand the difference. Another hidden wealth rule is this: income is important, but income alone doesn't create financial freedom. Many people assume that earning more automatically solves financial problems. Sometimes it does, temporarily.
But if spending rises as fast as income, nothing changes. The paycheck gets bigger, but the financial stress remains. That's why lifestyle inflation traps so many intelligent people. Every raise creates a new expense. Every promotion creates a new obligation. Every increase in income creates a larger standard of living. And eventually, the person earning twice as much still feels broke. Not because they're poor, but because expenses expanded alongside earnings. Wealth requires a gap between what comes in and what goes out. That gap becomes investment. That investment becomes assets. Those assets become freedom, and freedom becomes choice. That's the progression. Unfortunately, school rarely teaches that progression. Students learn how to earn,
but rarely learn how to convert earnings into wealth. And that missing step changes entire lives. The people who eventually build wealth understand something many never realize. Money has jobs. Every dollar can either consume your future or build your future.